On January 7th, 2016, Tyarra Williams walked out of her grandmother's apartment to meet a friend. She told her boyfriend and her brother that she'd be back in an hour. Tyarra hasn't been seen since. Did she walk away on her own accord and decide to start a new life? What happened to Tyarra? Or was there foul play involved? This case comes out of North Carolina. North Carolina is known for Carolina Panthers, the Wright brothers, the Charlotte Hornets, and sweet potatoes. If you're from the state of North Carolina, please feel free to leave a question or comments below, and I'll try to get back to you. Good people, I'll tell you what it is, and that's what's happening. This is a case of Tyarra Williams. Tyarra was born June 18th, 1996, to Danielle Williams and her husband. They were a young couple in love, and together they had two children. They had two children, Tyarra, and they had a son. Like a lot of marriages, sometimes things don't work out, and her parents split. She was around 7 years old when they divorced. After the divorce, Tyarra, her mother, and her brother lived together. The three of them resided together in an apartment complex called Stony Brook, located in Greensboro, North Carolina. Tyarra's mom was a single mom, so she depended on Tyarra to help her out a bit and look out for her brother. That's the normal dynamic of a family. Her mother wanted the best for her daughter, as any parent would. So she was a little strict on her. She made sure that she was doing the right thing. She made sure that she stayed out of trouble, and she kept an eye on her daughter. She monitored her like a mother with teenagers or any age. As a matter of fact, you monitor your kids because you want to make sure they're not doing anything to get themselves in trouble. Being a parent is not easy, especially to teenagers. Like all teenagers, including ourselves when we were that age, they think they know everything, but they don't know anything because they haven't lived enough life yet to have experiences to teach them anything. Children are not born knowing how to make good and bad decisions. It's a learned behavior. And even when you teach them, you still have to reiterate and re-guide and watch over them to make sure. Because when they leave out your house, they have outside influences through peers and, just people that they interact with on a daily basis that can influence them. So a mother and a father, they have to always reiterate and set boundaries and let their kids know what goes on in another household does not apply here, and it's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's the best guidance in the world, and they may not appreciate it when they're young, but they appreciate it when they get older. When Tyarra was a junior in high school, she realized that she enjoyed working with children. Not only children, but children with disabilities. She had a passion for those babies, and she wanted to help them, and she realized that that was something that she probably wanted to make a career out of. Tyarra came from a close-knit family with a lot of love. She was very close to her family members, and she had a huge heart, is what they said. And they all loved her and spoke very highly of her. And they said she was just a sweet young lady. At some point during Tyarra's senior year in high school, her mom and her kind of bumped heads a little bit. And Tyarra kind of felt like, she was growing up to become a young adult, and her mother wasn't giving her enough room to grow into a young woman. So she felt stifled a little bit. So they came to a mutual conclusion, that Tyarra would move in with her grandmother. The reason Danielle was okay with this, I believe, is because her mother lived in Stony Brook Apartments also. So she probably felt like, well, Tyarra is still in close proximity. She can still keep an eye on her daughter. And at the same time, she can give her just a little bit more room to grow into a young adult. So with her living with her grandmother to finish out her senior year, this would be a perfect plan that she could get her future going, get into school because she wanted to go to college, and things will progress from there. Tyarra finished out her senior year in high school living with her grandmother. She did well in school. She was very sociable in school, got along great with her peers, and everyone liked her who knew her in school. Tyarra graduated from Dudley High School in 2014. And she decided to take a year off to relax and get herself, situated. And, what kids do, they want to take some time off for themselves after high school. And that was a tremendous accomplishment because so many kids don't finish high school. They go off and decide to immediately start a job, or there are other things that they want to do, and school is not one of them. So this young lady went ahead and she registered herself for school, and she was set to start in December of 2015. In recent days before Tyarra's disappearance, she had enrolled herself in Guilford Technical Community College, and she was excited about that. As a matter of fact, she had went to school around 8 o'clock that morning. She did her final enrollment paperwork, got her ID, she was ready. She had her classes and her start time. When Tyarra registered for her classes, she understood that her passion for working with those children with disabilities had not changed, and so she signed up for her classes. She just felt like she could give them the love and the care and the nurturing that they needed and that they deserved. Later that evening around 6 p.m., Tyarra went to her mom's house to help her put the Christmas decorations away. After the holidays, you have to pack everything back up, take down all the decorations, and put everything away. And so she went over to assist her mom. At 8 o'clock, Tyarra, Aaron, her boyfriend, and her brother left her mom's apartment and they went to her grandmother's house. They had dinner and they watched some television. They, chatted and hung out for a bit. Around 8:30, Tyarra told her boyfriend, Aaron, that she was going to meet a friend named Travis. Now, Aaron didn't know who Travis was. He had never heard that name before, but he didn't question Tyarra because he trusts her. I mean, there was no reason to question her. She said she was going to meet a friend and she'd be back in an hour. And so he said, okay. Tyarra told Aaron that her friend lived in the same apartment complex where her grandmother and her mom lived and where she lived. So he said, that's not a big deal. So they walked out of the apartment together, her, Aaron, and her brother. And when they got to the parking lot, they went their separate ways. Aaron and her brother decided to go back to Aaron's house and play video games and wait for her to give them a call in an hour. At 9:30, when Tyarra didn't show up, Aaron and her brother figured she was running a bit late, so they waited a little while and then they went back to her grandmother's apartment to wait for her. They kind of got a little worried and said, wait a minute now, let me call her and find out what's going on. So when they called her phone, it went straight to voicemail. And they called several more times and it went to voicemail. So they just decided to just wait a while and, give her a chance to either get back with them or show up. So after Tyarra arrived at her friend's house that she was going to meet, later on her GPS would show that her phone went dead. So either it was turned off deliberately or her battery ran out. Which one do you guys think? Do you guys think that someone turned her phone off, or do you think that maybe the battery went dead? Aaron waited patiently all night, and after falling asleep, the next morning he realized that she still hadn't returned his call or come home. He had some pre-scheduled appointments to run, so he went and ran his errands, and he figured maybe by the time he would get back, she'd be back, and they'd have their little fuss about her staying out all night, and that would be the end of it. Well, he got back to her grandmother's house and she still wasn't there. And at that point, he went and he woke her grandmother up and he told her, hey, Tyarra didn't come home last night and I'm really concerned about her. And the grandmother was like, she never came here this morning and I haven't seen her since yesterday when you guys left out of here. What's going on? So he explained the story to her and he said, hey, me and her brother were with her and she left, said she'd be back in an hour and we haven't heard from her and her phone's going straight to voicemail. So her grandmother called her mother, Danielle. And Danielle went to her room to see if maybe she had come home in the middle of the night and she was sleeping. She went into her room and inspected, and she found Tyarra's purse with all of her belongings in it, and Tyarra wasn't there. So she realized Tyarra had never come back to the house. Around 12:30 p.m. that afternoon, Aaron decided that he better let Danielle know what really happened the night before. So he tells Danielle that the night before, the last time they saw Tyarra was about 8:30 p.m. and that they were all in the parking lot together, and Tyarra said she was going to meet her friend Travis and she'd be back in an hour. Now, I believe that Aaron withheld that information initially because he didn't want Tyarra to be upset with him when she got back. She's a young lady, and she may have felt like, why are you telling my mom my personal business? My mom doesn't know anything about Travis. I don't feel like I want to explain who all of my friends are. At this point, Aaron was worried, and he didn't care about Tyarra being upset with him. He figured he'd just have to listen to her fuss at him, and he'd be okay with that because he was more concerned about her safety than her being mad at him. On January 8th, 2016 at 8 p.m., Tyarra's mom called the Greensboro Police Department to report her daughter missing. Tyarra's mom told the police that she went on Tyarra's Facebook and she was looking for a young man named Travis, and she couldn't find a Travis. She figured that must have been an alias name for him. Danielle explained to the police that this was not Tyarra's normal behavior and something was not right. The police believed this mom, and they immediately started looking into this disappearance. On January 9th, Tyarra's family decided to make some flyers and walk around the neighborhood in an apartment complex and ask the neighbors if they'd seen Tyarra. So they made some flyers up that said Tyarra Williams was last seen on January 7th, 2016 at 8:30 p.m. She was in a parking lot of Stonebrook Apartments, which is this apartment complex. She is 5'5" tall. She weighs about 120 pounds. She has brown eyes and brown hair. If you see my baby, please let me know. Contact me or contact the police. The number is on the flyer. So they went to every apartment and they asked every neighbor, and no one had seen her. No one had seen Tyarra. On January the 11th, when Tyarra had been missing for 4 days at this point, and no one had heard anything from her, police assigned her case to the Crimes Against a Person Division. The Crimes Against a Person Division is a department within the police department. They specialize in cases. They handle things such as battery, aggravated battery. They handle domestic violence, stalking, harassment, hate crimes, kidnapping, trafficking, and a multitude of other crimes. Through investigation, police were able to track down the young man known as Travis. That wasn't his real name, but they refused to release his real name and identity to the public and also to the media because they said that he wasn't actually a person of interest. After they spoke to him, they said that he admitted that yes, he did meet with Tyarra. He said that he talked to her inside of a car. They talked about a half an hour, and then she left. And she said she was going back to her grandmother's house. He said he saw her walking in that direction. And the police went through his text messages and different, his car, his vehicle, and they looked for evidence and blood evidence and different things like that. They didn't find anything. Everything checked out. They realized that they really didn't have anything on Travis and that he wasn't really a suspect. So they concluded their investigation on him and said that he had nothing to do with it. Police suggested that Danielle set up a Facebook account on Tyarra so that the public can get information updated, and they also could provide information through that site if they weren't able to contact the family. Police advised the family that they should be very vocal, very public, and very present to get the information out there about Tyarra to the public, so that people would continue to be on the lookout for her and provide information. There were a few tips relating to Tyarra. People were calling in saying that they had spotted her on a textile drive. Then they had another person that says that there was a corpse across the street from the apartment complex and that it was in a tractor trailer parking lot and that it was Tyarra. That was a false call also. You had the sanitation worker at the High Point saying that he thought he saw Tyarra and that turned out not to be her. There were a lot of different claims of people seeing Tyarra and people calling in and making tips and, making anonymous tips. And for the most part, people had good intentions. They thought they saw this young lady and they were trying to help the family out. But then you also have those very few that, for whatever reason, they decide to make these prank calls, and they lie and they make up this information to get the family's hopes up. And it's sick. It's sadistic. And you wonder why people have that type of nature. But, you still have to check out every phone call and every tip just to make sure, because you just never know. When police first started the investigation, Aaron was also investigated as well as Travis. Aaron was cleared like Travis, and at first Aaron was very upset about it because he couldn't understand why the police would accuse him. But when the police realized that his alibi checked out and that he was very distraught over the disappearance of Tyarra. Another theory that came up was that maybe Tyarra had been abducted or kidnapped, or even held for ransom. There were many that felt that Travis had something to do with Tyarra's disappearance. Travis was cleared, and later on he was found murdered inside of his apartment. Police said that the situation was unrelated to Tyarra, and it had nothing to do with that case. There have been many theories and possibilities of what could have happened to this young lady. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Leave your comments down below and let me know what you think. As of January 2023, Tyarra Williams has not been found. Her case is still open, and her family is still hoping and wishing that she'd come back to them. If you have any information that can help the police and the family to find their loved one, please contact the Greensboro Police Department in North Carolina to give your information. Good people, please keep this family uplifted in your prayers. Be careful, be aware, and be safe. God bless you guys. Love you.